Been a long time since I've done a pickup video, and I've acquired a number of items from my collection since then, so I thought I would do a video and show them off. This is Ghostbusters. It says Ghostbusters 2. It says it's by Activision here at the bottom, and I saw this. It came up in a big lot that was being sold by a company that's kind of like Goodwill Computers, where they recycle computers and things like that, and they seem to get a lot of Atari things, and it was really weird to see this. I've never seen this box before, and this is not, to my understanding, actually an Activision release, even though it says this on here. This was released by a company called Salu, which was a company in Europe that released PAL versions of Atari 2600 games. They actually made, I think, a couple of games. And, this was, when I saw this, it definitely piqued my interest. I'm really glad to add this to my collection because I love Activision stuff for the 2600. Even though this is not apparently an official Activision release, it's still very nice to have, and it's in great shape. Really, just the box is in beautiful condition. This is Tanks But No Tanks by Zimag. I had a poor condition loose copy of this, and like Activision games, the labels on these games really deteriorate, and finding boxed versions of these games is really hard. Zimag stuff in general is really pretty rare. I think it's rarer than a lot of people give it credit for being, because I've looked for a lot of Atari stuff in the last 20 years or so, and yeah, this was something that I was really glad to add to my collection. The box is in okay condition. It's got a dent here. I'm cool with the price sticker. That's not a big deal. And unlike the loose cartridge I had, which had really bad active plaque, it was in rough shape, the label on this one is in pretty good condition. Another Zimag item I got from somewhere else. I had never heard of this before. I'm not familiar with Zimag's releases for any system besides the 2600. I didn't even know they had any, but I saw this come up. This is a game called 9-Ball, which, as you can see, it looks like it's some sort of pinball game. It uses a paddle controller, which I think is interesting, and it's a 16K game for the Atari 400-800. I haven't played this yet, but it's the Zimag. It's it has the Zimag style, which I really like. So happy to add that. This is a game that I've been trying to find a reasonably priced box copy of for a long time. This is a very rough copy. I think this actually came in the same lot that I got the Ghostbusters 2 in, so it was kind of a bonus. There is a place that right now is selling mint in the box copies of this game, I believe, but they want, for me, way more money than I'm willing to pay. Really rough shape, tears, scrapes, dents, just everything. But even all that being said, it could be in a lot worse shape. So this is one of the few 20th Century Fox games I didn't have a box copy of, so that's a nice gap filler. Sea Hunt by Froggo. The box looks fantastic. I'm not really very knowledgeable about Froggo at all, so I don't know if this is an original release or if this is a pirate. It seemed like they did a lot of hacks of existing games, but I think I got that again in a lot with some other stuff. Alligator People. So this is a box that was created by Mark Oberhauser, and it's really great job. You can see it looks very much like a 20th Century box. There are a little bit of differences. I think he does that to keep people from ripping off unsuspecting buyers. This is a game 20th Century Fox made and never released. It's a complete game. It's not a prototype as far as I can tell, but either they weren't happy with the quality of the game, or they did release a couple of games that weren't very good quality. Revenge of the Beefsteak Tomatoes comes to mind. But I think it was because of the game crash that they exited the game business and decided not to release this. I think 20th Century Fox, I think it was actually Sirius, the computer game company, because a lot of their titles are Sirius titles. I don't know if they had some sort of licensing deal with 20th Century Fox or what, but this is not, unlike some of the other games that are available on other platforms, as far as I know, this is only was created for the 2600 and does not exist anywhere else. This is something I'm really happy to add to my collection. This is one of the rarer Atari Silver Box games, Gremlins, and it's actually a pretty good game. And as you can see from the artist rendering on the back, these weren't actual screenshots. They just didn't have that technology back then, apparently. You know, it's actually a pretty graphically detailed game as far as, you know, compared to what Atari usually put out. You know, it looks kind of like an Activision game. So I've had this loose for a while. Really, really happy to have this. It took me a long time to find one at a price that I was willing to pay. It's really hard to find in general. So just thrilled. I love the Atari Silver Box games. Those are my favorite of subset of the Atari collection. This is Moon Cresta for the 7800. I bought the cartridge from Atari Age. I really love these games that were made for the 7800 by Pac-Man Plus, or Robert DeCrescenzo. I hope I didn't mangle that name too badly. But this game and his version of Scramble are two of the reasons why I own a 7800. I never owned a 7800 back in the 80s. It's a pretty cool console, but I have a lot of consoles, and so I try to be kind of choosy about what I actually hold on to. But I had a 7800 kicking around that I acquired as part of a lot. It wasn't working. It turned out it was the power supply, and I was able to kind of assemble a working boxed 7800 from that. But this game is awesome. This is really good. I mean, it's like playing it on MAME, but you're playing it on, you know, hardware from the 1980s. So that's really happy to get the box for that. The box was made by Mark Oberhauser. Also, the box was not available via Atari Age. This is Ramit. I acquired this empty box. I had the manual and the cartridge. I acquired the manual from one guy, the cartridge from someone else, and I found the box somewhere else. This is something that's really seems to be very hard to find. So really happy to own a copy of this. Telesys is a great company. I really like the Telesys games. This is one of the very few boxes I didn't have. Star Gunner, I think, is the main one that I would really love to add to my collection. Again, I have the manual and the cartridge for that, but not the box. So I'm really hoping that someday I will be able to find the box and you know, add that to my collection, because it will definitely be something I'm really proud to have. People seem really critical of the game Star Gunner. I don't know why. I think it's an awesome game. Squish 'em for the Atari 400, 800. I had this as a loose cartridge, and someone was selling an empty box, and they were selling it really cheap. So this is a really cool, serious game. This is probably one of my favorite games for the Atari 400. So really happy to acquire that. This is a Zonix Double Ender, Spike's Peak, and Ghost Manor. This is one of the ones I had when I was a kid that, you know, like everyone else, you know, bought the box, probably ended up in the trash. My parents probably threw it away, or I probably discarded it. Didn't really care about it. It was just about having the cartridge back then. The Zonix boxes were really hard to find. So happy to have this. The condition's okay. What I'd really love to do is I'd love to have a complete set of all the Zonix single enders in the box, but that will take me a long time. In the meanwhile, very happy to own a double ender box. So here's a game I mentioned earlier, Revenge of the Beefsteak Tomatoes, another game I owned when I was a kid. I'm surprised at how rare this is. You know, it was on sale, I think, at Toys R Us when it was fairly new for $12, which is how I came by it often when we'd go to buy new games on weekends. When we'd do that, we'd get something that like we actually went there to get, and then we would pick up one of these 20th Century Fox games that was really cheap. So that was kind of their niche. Again, there's someone else selling really nice condition copies of these. This is not one of them. They were asking way more money than I was willing to pay. I got this at a really good price. So even though it's in rough condition, it's more of a gap filler for me. I love 20th Century Fox releases. This is not one of my favorites, but I'm glad to be closer to having a complete collection. This is Threshold. This is a game that, as I've been collecting, has given me a lot of trouble. What I find with a lot of Tiger Vision releases is you buy them from someone on eBay, and it ends up being a PAL version. And I have multiple PAL copies of this game that have kind of passed through my hands over the years. And I actually have a boxed PAL copy. This one had the ends cut off the boxes, but from Mark Oberhauser, again, he sells really cool stuff. He has box inserts that he designs for the boxes that he does that he sells, and you know, it really fits this perfectly because it didn't come with a plastic tray that these Tiger Vision games usually do. But you know, it closes off the cut ends on this that otherwise would be open. This is Gyrus by Parker Brothers. This is a really beautiful box. In really excellent condition, except again the top and bottom flaps were cut off. I have an intact box, but it's in really rough condition. Someone stuck tape on it and some other things, so this is actually nice. I consider this nicer than the one I already had, even though it's more complete. So this is another addition to my collection I'm very happy to make. One of the last Parker Brothers games I didn't have the box for, Star Wars the arcade game. Again, top and bottom flaps gone, but it's in really nice condition otherwise. It's got a little bit of damage here. And then some not rare at all, not hard to find, Atari color box releases, Video Pinball. These were some items that were gaps in my collection. And none of these are my favorite games, but I own almost all the rest of them, so I wanted to pick these up and, you know, make my collection a little bit more complete. This one's in a little bit rougher shape, a little bit of wear on it, but not too bad. And miniature golf. Boy, these people in this artwork really look like they're having the best time that they've ever had. It's kind of over the top. And that's kind of what's neat about these old Atari boxes. So those are my most recent pickups. That's probably about 2 months worth of stuff. I'm kind of taking a break from collecting for a little while to focus on some other stuff, but you know, it's a lot of fun. I love picking this stuff up.